I just had to recertify my income-driven repayment plan, which I've been on since I graduated grad school in 2017. So it's been almost 10 years. And last year, I actually went back to school half-time to community college so that I could stop paying my loans. And my loans last year when I went back to school were $94 a month. I just didn't want to pay any more money to like this administration. I was like, I'm good. They're all federal. And so basically I still pay $94 a month. I just pay that to the college. Like that's what it works out at kind of over the year. Or it's like it works out at like $100 a month. So I like I'm not taking more loans. This is not the point of this video. The point of the video is I just had to recertify my student loans for my income driven repayment plan. And my payment has gone up from $94 a month to $934 a month. Granted, I won't be paying that because I'm back in school, so my loans continue to be deferred. I don't even have words for what are you expecting to happen to the capitalist society we live in? 10 times more than what they currently are.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget student loan stories now run in the mornings as I have time. All right. As we get into the ending of the SAVE plan, which actually has officially ended, and as the next year progresses, there are going to be a lot of changes to people's student loan monthly payment. For this gal, she's doing what I am sure lots of people are going to do, and that is go back to school so they can avoid paying the student loan debt. Here's the thing, folks, there is no easy way out of student loan debt. And even me getting my PSLF in 2022 for 110,000, that took 16 years of teaching middle school. There is no easy way out of this debt. And we've heard it on TikTok where people will say things like, oh, well, I'm just going to go back to school because it's cheaper to pay the school tuition, maybe, I don't know, a couple $100 a month than it is to pay the $1,000 plus, or even in the $600, $700, $800 range. It's easier to make the payments going back to school. And I understand that they're not taking on new debt. A lot of these students are not taking on new debt going back to school. They're just trying to avoid paying the old debt. But the problem, folks, is you're just making a bad debt worse. And I've been there. I get it. Okay. I don't have, let's just hypothetically say, in this gal's case, she doesn't have the $930 a month payment for her student loan. That went from $94 to $934. So she's going back to school to avoid it. But here's the problem, because you cannot go bankrupt on student loans, it is my opinion that you are actually damaging your financial future even more. In other words, you are adding more risk to it because you cannot go bankrupt. Every month, that you're not paying, it's just going up and up and up. So how long do you intend to do that? And I don't know, people will say things, oh, I'm only going to do this for a semester, a year, whatever. Oh, let's see. Then you decide to get married, you decide to have a kid. In other words, as I've discussed on this channel, life keeps moving forward and you still want all the riches and goodies that life brings. You would just like to ignore that student loan. I genuinely believe you are better off while you are younger, healthier. You have more ability to work longer hours. I know you don't want to. I know this gal doesn't want to. But the bottom line is, and take it from someone who's 58 with knee arthritis, back issues. Oh, and my mat came, so I'm really happy. I got a mat for my back, okay, an ergonomic mat. I'm going to be standing probably a lot for my videos, but take it from someone with my medical conditions, okay? You are wasting your youth just trying to put off the student loan debt. So now you have an even bigger debt in the future when your body cannot stand to do a job and a half, even 2 full-time jobs or close to full-time. I don't recommend 2 full-time jobs. I recommend a job and a half, but it's just something to think about. And I know it's tempting. I understand it. I've been there. Okay. My debt grew from 85 to 110 over 16 years. I get it. And anyone who says, oh, well, you never had to pay it off. Trust me, teaching middle school for 16 years. Okay. Not that it was punishment. It's my dream job, but it still takes a heck of a commitment. I mean, how many people want to do that? That's not most people's dream job to teach, much less teach middle school. I just happen to fit it like a glove, so it works for me. But it was still a commitment to see that student loan through. So the other thing also is if you do find that your payments have gone up tenfold or whatnot, you need to check a couple things. Okay. If you haven't been in touch with your loan servicer, whoever that is, okay, Mohila, whomever, they're going to default you to the standard payment plan. They will default you. You must get in touch with them and ask them if you need income based. But again, as you know, income based is that double-edged sword. Yes, you can afford the payments, but please don't, make a TikTok a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, going, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. My payment went up. Remember what I've said to you about income based payment. Yes, you can afford the payments. At least hopefully you can, but really what you're doing is you're paying every month to say, I can't afford my student loan and I'm just going to keep watching it go up and up. If nothing else, you must be able to make the interest payment every month to at least keep it from going up. But going back to school in your healthiest working years, I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good idea because you cannot wipe out the debt in bankruptcy. Just things to think about, okay?
All these people who post like, oh, like if everyone sends me $1, I can pay off my student loans, and they only have like 7,000 left. Where are my people who have like a ton of student loans left? I have $61,000 left to pay. I have been out of school. I finished undergrad in 2016 and I finished my graduate in 2018. I still have $61,000 to pay. Does no one else have student loans like this? Like, I feel like everyone I see on here is like, oh, I have less than 10,000. No, I have less than 5,000. Like, maybe the ones with like too much student loans just don't even think it's like a possibility to like get that amount. But like, please tell me I'm not the only one who has 60.
You're not the only person with tons of debt, although I will tons of student loan debt. I will say, however, if you have 100,000 plus, that puts you up there in like the top 10%. That's a category you don't want to be in. And don't forget, as I say, okay, 100,000 plus, you got to think about $1,000 every single month. If you're taking on near $100,000 in student loan debt, your balance is near there. I'm betting you your payment is about $1,000 a month. So she's definitely not alone. And also, warning, warning, ding, ding, ding. All right. Somebody may have a low student balance, or what we would consider to be a low student balance. To me, it's anything in the teens and below. If you can get into 19,000 and below, to me, okay, all things considered, you have a low student loan balance. You can get a little modest car for that. Okay. But you got to be careful because even those bills can be very tempting not to pay them. And then before you know it, you wind up with a bill that's even higher, even though it just started out at 8,000. So those little bills can be just as difficult psychologically to tackle as a bigger bill, although clearly you'd want the lower bill over the big one. But you just got to think about that. And this is how, when we've seen it on TikToks, someone's carried $10,000 balance for 6 years and it's still, 10,000 or it's, 8,500 and they're wondering why. Again, it's all, you got to remember, folks, it's all about whether or not the monthly payment you are making is going into the principal. That's what it's all about.
$1,000 in student loans, and I'm a teacher. I don't even make that much in a year, and I owe that much in student loans. Where are those people?
Am I a spoiled, rotten brat for being upset that my parents don't want to pay for my college? For reference, they paid for my brother's. Obviously, I understand that I'm very lucky to have parents who pay for a lot of stuff for me. But obviously, I'm upset about this because what do you mean you're going to pay for my brother's and not mine? And what about my younger sister? I worked my butt off through the 4 years of high school. You guys actually have no idea. Our freshman year, whole other story. My parents don't even know about it, like how it affected my mental health. But I worked so hard to get all A's. Fortunately, this year, I did get 2 B pluses. Thank you, AP Gov. But other than that, I've gotten an all A's. My GPA is above 4.1. Now, obviously, with that high of a GPA, I can get a lot of scholarships, which is why I work so hard for it. My brother, on the other hand, he barely graduated with a 3.0. Literally no opportunities for him, like 3.0.
All right. Just a little Aunt Carrie advice. I wouldn't shout out on TikTok what your brother's GPA is. I understand you making a TikTok and you're upset with your parents, although I would never do it. But then again, I'm Gen X. But we'll go with the flow of today. But I would not have put my brother's GPA on there, as he's not there to defend himself with it. And honestly, that's really not social media's problem. I understand why she did it, but inappropriate, yes. But let's go ahead and put that aside. It is unfair on the surface that he is getting his college paid for, and I'm going to suspect your younger sister are not. But there are two things that cross my mind. One is that your brother is, well, just the fact that he's a boy, and there's something about tradition in the family where the boy is considered the do no wrong, can do no wrong, future head of household, yada, yada. I'm not crazy about that way of thinking, but I understand in some families that's the way it is. I am not there to tell a family what's wrong or right. But I know that culturally, in some cases, that's the case. Now, looking at a race, I'm assuming, if we're not talking cultures where they believe that, and this is just good old USA, I would lean towards it's unfair. But again, we haven't heard your parents' side. Okay. Is also a possibility next to it just being, well, he's the guy in the family, which again to me is not right, but that's just me and the way I believe and the way I was raised. Your parents could just be flat broke, but they can only afford the first child. And this is something I haven't really discussed it on this channel, but it is something to consider, is that the first child that goes to college, okay, gets all the money and all the resources. The parents didn't intend financially to deny it to other children, but tap, tap, tap those resources. There it goes. And they do not have the money to put the other two kids through school. That is, in my opinion, wholly unfair. But unfortunately, life is what it is. And perhaps the parents can, again, offer a room, a bed, food, and all that. It is not fair. But again, without hearing the parent side as to why. So my suggestion to this young lady is accept the cards as they are and start making your life plans without the assistance. Otherwise, you will spend your entire life or a lot of your life upset that your brother got something that you did not. Again, without hearing the parent side and why. All right. So that's just my suggestion. It's just not fair. Sometimes and I'm the oldest child, and sometimes the first child gets things that the other children don't get for one reason or another. In my case, I did not, my mother and father, they were very fair. We kids all got the same thing, even college opportunity if you wanted to go. So in my case, it was very fair.
People not in medicine will often ask me how much I owe in loans, and by no means is this going to be representative of everybody in medicine, but I am a second-year resident, and I'm going to show you how much I owe in student loans. So as you can see, I owe $241,667.47.
This is as of 2022.
And that is the interest rate. And that's because of the student loan pause.
The interest rate is approximately 5.75% for the people not looking at the screen.
So yeah, just a $250,000.
Thank you so much for joining me for the Business Insider portion. This is titled Meet a Single Dad with $550,000 in student loans for his 5 children. I'm just not going to take the chance on not sending my kids to school. This Business Insider article is written by Ayelet Sheffy. It was written June 2nd, 2023. So we are talking at the peak of the pandemic. Reed Clark didn't expect to be providing for 5 children on his income alone. Clark was preparing to pay for his 5 kids' education as part of a 2-income family. But he and his wife divorced in 2011. Just a few years later, when the children started going to college, he decided to turn to federal loans to finance their education himself. Due to private circumstances, his ex-wife isn't contributing. Now his debt load stands at over $550,000. I'm looking at paying $3,000 a month for the better part of the rest of my life, Clark, who is 57, said. He estimates he'll have to keep making those payments for at least 3 more decades. Parent Plus loans, the type of loan Clark is paying off, are federal loans that let parents pay for their children's education. They can cover the full cost of attendance minus any financial aid the child already received. All right, let's stop here for just a quick second, okay? As you know, the Parent Plus loans now are limited. I believe that I actually think that starts either this summer or next summer. I think there's still a little leeway time in between, not much. But Parent Plus loans are now being limited to, I believe it's $65,000 total you can take out for a child. And it comes to something like 20,000 or so per year, but there's a cap. And also, Parent Plus loans are no longer, okay, the new policy that's coming into play, they are no longer eligible for income-based payments. So that is the state of Parent Plus loans. And part of it, and that's part of the Trump BBB, big beautiful bill, and part of it, a lot of it has to do with this amount of loan. A lot of people are unaware that Parent Plus loans are not based on your ability to pay back. All it's based on, you have, I think it's a half decent credit score, you have a job, and that's it. And the sky is the limit, as we can tell, with a $550,000 student loan. Says here his wife isn't contributing. She's the smart person in the room. He basically spent 100 grand per kid to go to college. I understand, and I'm not a parent. I understand, that a parent wants to put their child through school, but there comes a point where it's just ridiculous. And I think, in my opinion, this is just ridiculous. $500,000. I don't, and I'm also going to assume that the kids have their own debt as well, because you figure he's taking out 100,000 per kid. Plus, and again, I'm reading this article with you for the first time. Okay, I'm willing to bet his kids have their own federal loans, because typically Parent Plus loans come after the federal loans are all sucked up. So 550,000. That will not be possible in the future, however, with the big beautiful bill. He says he's looking at $3,000 a month for the better part of his life. If you are holding on to a $500,000 payment, $3,000 is probably the income base. No, not the better part of his life. It's going to be the rest of his life, short of him hitting a lottery. If he was 57 years old in 2023 when this came out, okay, this is just, and we're only in 2026 right now. So he's basically 60, 61. Nah, he's keeping this loan until the day he passes. My hope is that this doesn't become a burden to the children later when he does not have money to take care of himself as he ages. I don't know. It's just simply a thought. So there's the family. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. And I can pretty much bet they have their own federal student loans as well. Again, I think his wife was the smart one in the family. And I'm also going to add here real quick. I think part of it is also guilt that the marriage didn't work out, guilt that perhaps one of them, I'm not going to say he is, okay, but perhaps one of them felt like the absent parent. I don't know. But I oftentimes, when I hear these stories about just ridiculous student loan debt, oftentimes, this is just an observation. I've been doing student loans on this channel for a while now. They come from single parent households. So somewhere along the line, to me, there's that feeling of, oh, I know our marriage didn't work out, but I'm going to give you everything I got. The sky's the limit. Beautiful children, however, I will admit that. For Clark, the ability to take out these loans meant he didn't have to defer his kids' education, despite the unexpected change in his financial standing. But now he said, even though he makes a livable salary in healthcare sales, his retirement could very likely be pushed off because he chose to take on debt to prioritize his kids' futures. For those of us who want to see our kids do better, we understand that you better yourself and you better your chances of success with education, Clark said. And I'm just not going to take the chance on not sending my kids to school. Even though it's going to create a tremendous financial burden, it's not an option. Guys, I genuinely believe we need to stop thinking that $500,000 or whatever it is parents are taking out is not a financial burden. It does become a financial burden potentially to your children if you can't afford your elderly care and one of them has to take you in. It's something to just consider. And this thing here, you better your chance for success with education. Well, then when you wind up in a Business Insider article, and I respect him doing the article because he's teaching us, and that's important. So I'm not insulting him in any way in that regards. Okay. But when you wind up in an article saying, I'm working for the rest of my life, $3,000 a month payment is not enough to get into the principle of a $500,000 debt. If you just think about it logically, for every $700,000 approximately. I'm going to say a $900 to $1,100 payment, assuming you didn't go to a private loan that's, raking you over the coals at 17%. So if you're talking $500,000, you're talking in thousands of dollars per month to try to get into the principal. So again, I don't think this was a smart idea financially. I think it's okay to tell kids, look, your mom and I are divorced. The finances are not what they used to be. So we have to make alternative plans. Everybody's going to community college. I mean, you do what you got to do. It sounded as though, again, I suspect there was some parent guilt that the marriage didn't work and now we've got these 5 kids and we want them to all succeed where perhaps they feel they failed. I don't know. I'm meaning they feel that they failed as a parent. And medical sales, good thing he's in sales. I mean, that does help, but still. Let's see. Clark says he wanted what was best for his kids, and Parent Plus loans allowed him that opportunity, but he's highly concerned for his own financial future, and he blames high interest rates and lending practices that don't take into account the borrower's income or change in income. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. You've been through the system 5 times. You're in sales. You got to learn how people think. You got to learn numbers. No, I cannot give him a pass on that. I'm sorry. He should have been highly concerned about his financial future before he signed on all those loans. He should not blame the high interest rates as much as he blames himself. See, this is something that happens also in Parent Plus debt, guys. People wind up so concerned about, oh my goodness, now that I've taken out the debt and I've been able to see my children walk across the stage, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on how many kids you have and how many degrees they're getting. And now I'm concerned. This is something that we should be doing before. This is where I would have sat down as a parent and I would have said, all right, guys, you know what? Your mom and I are getting divorced or we're under divorce. The finances have changed. Maybe he's having to pay alimony, support, whatever. Okay. But the bottom line, kids, is, all these grandiose colleges of, 100,000 per kid, we can't afford that anymore. This is the result of a parent not being able to say no to the children. I don't care how cute your kids are. Okay. The inability to say no can be a parent's worst financial nightmare. And, there's going to be someone out there that goes, well, what are those kids supposed to do? Then they're supposed to figure it out on their own. They need to drop the schooling. Find other opportunities. I mean, I hate to say it. And again, it's not fair. Okay. But the bottom line is, I don't believe, and I strongly believe this, parents should not put up their retirement to afford a child going to school. To me, that's a non-negotiable trade-off. All right. I am more powerful as a parent. I am more powerful when I know I got my housing, my retirement, I got some medical wiggle room, and I got that good. So as my child grows older, I don't have kids, but work with me here. As my child grows older, I'm not going to be a burden to them. And I don't care how much you make in medical sales. Okay. Again, $3,000 a month. No, that's income based, guaranteed, absolutely guarantee it. It says here so we're not hearing accountability from his part. They really make it challenging to educate your kids and pay for it. Again, he needs to take some accountability here. Okay. Parent Plus loans are the most expensive type of federal loan. Now, you guys have heard me say this. You've heard me say it. They have an interest rate of 6.28 for the 2021 school year. Okay. Again, I will put the link in the description box as I don't like to read all the political and data stuff. It's not as if Clark's children went to the most expensive schools in the country. 3 of them went to small schools in Pennsylvania where Clark lives, and the other 2 went to other state schools on the East Coast. But even for public universities, tuition costs have been soaring for years. All right. So again, he got 5 kids through school. Okay. This is not new to him. I mean, I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I'm just trying to look at the illogic. This is a blueprint of what you do not want to do. Take on all this debt, and now you are stuck and you can't even make the monthly payments. I would think for $500,000, you're looking at, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. That's what I would be thinking to even try to dip into the principal. Again, you're talking $500,000. And of course, you can't go bankrupt on it. Minimum $5,000, $6,000 a month. Oh, let's see here. His debt comes down to flaws with the federal student aid system, in which the government makes it easy for people to borrow money, but very hard to pay back. we'll get back to that in just a minute. At the very onset of the whole process is where the problems begin, Clark said, referring to the unchecked amount parents can borrow years in advance. They really make it challenging to educate your kids and pay for it. No, Mr. Clark, with all due respect, okay, it's not flaws with the federal student aid system first. The first flaw is the parent. And we have seen this. Sorry if I sound so passionate, okay, but we have seen this. Okay, parents taking on all this debt and they're going, but my kid had to do it. There was no other choice. I mean, what were they supposed to do? Okay. So now the parent sits and blames the student aid. They blame the interest rate. Oh, and he's basically saying, oh my goodness, look how easy it was for me to take it out. Well, then would he rather be in today's market where there is now a cap on how much you can take out per kid? None of this $500,000 baloney going on anymore, but he needs accountability. And I have yet to hear that. Okay, the debt comes down to flaws with the federal student aid system. Yes, and that is why, as a parent of 5 children, you need to be one step smarter than the federal student aid people. Oh, let's see here. He goes, I'm highly concerned about my ability to pay back the loans during my remaining working years, and it's going to scare me even more in a few years when I retire and go to a very limited income. That's the part that gives me the most anxiety. And we sit there, and that's the end of the article, but we sit there and we go, how come young people can't get their finances straight with student loan debt? And we sometimes, not me, because I understand it, but students sit there and go, they have anxiety over their paying their debt. Why? Because the adults can't get it right. And a lot of it is denial. Okay. These were all wants. These college degrees were all wants. I guarantee it to you. There was a cheaper way to do it. They could have done it cheaper, but just like the young people, the parents go, oh, but I want the best for my kid and I'm going to give them everything, even if it puts me into financial poverty. And let's get real. He's in financial poverty.
I just had to recertify my income-driven repayment plan, which I've been on since I graduated grad school in 2017. So it's been almost 10 years. And last year I actually went back to school half-time to community college so that I could stop paying my loans. And my loans last year when I went back to school were $94 a month. I just didn't want to pay any more money to like this administration. I was like, I'm good. They're all federal. And so basically I still pay $94 a month. I just pay that to the college. Like that's what it works out at kind of over the year, or it's like it works out at like $100 a month. So I like I'm not taking more loans. This is not the point of this video. The point of the video is I just had to recertify my student loans for my income-driven repayment plan. And my payment has gone up from $94 a month to $934 a month. Granted, I won't be paying that because I'm back in school, so my loans continue to be deferred. I don't even have words for like, what are you expecting to happen to the capitalist society we live in? 10 times more than what they currently are.
All these people who post like, oh, like if everyone sends me $1, I can pay off my student loans and they only have like 7,000 left. Where are my people who have like a ton of student loans left? I have $61,000 left to pay. I have been out of school. I finished undergrad in 2016 and I finished my graduate in 2018. I still have $61,000 to pay. Does no one else have student loans like this? Like, I feel like everyone I see on here is like, oh, I have less than 10,000. No, I have less than 5,000. Like, maybe the ones with like too much student loans just don't even think it's like a possibility to like get that amount. But like, please tell me I'm not the only one who has $61,000 in student loans and I'm a teacher. I don't even make that much in a year and I owe that much in student loans. Where are those people?
Am I a spoiled, rotten brat for being upset that my parents don't want to pay for my college? For reference, they paid for my brother's. Obviously, I understand that I'm very lucky to have parents who pay for a lot of stuff for me. But obviously, I'm upset about this because what do you mean you're going to pay for my brother's and not mine? And what about my younger sister? I worked my butt off through the 4 years of high school. You guys actually have no idea. Our freshman year, whole other story. My parents don't even know about it, like how it affected my mental health. But I worked so hard to get all A's. Fortunately, this year, I did get 2 B+. Thank you, AP Gov. But other than that, I've gotten an all A's. My GPA is above 4.1. Now, obviously, with that high of a GPA, I can get a lot of scholarships.
People not in medicine will often ask me how much I owe in loans, and by no means is this going to be representative of everybody in medicine, but I am a second-year resident, and I'm going to show you how much I owe in student loans. So as you can see, I owe $241,667.47, and that is the interest rate. And that's because of the student loan pause. So yeah, just a $250,000.